Rev up your engines!
Dirty Joe says, I'm an Uber driver and love your channel. Playing it 12 hours a day. Passengers love hearing your content. Well, that's fascinating because when I started, I did Crank It Up with CBS TV in Houston, right? And the first time I was on, the news director called me and said, oh, people love you. I said, yeah, I tell people the truth. She said, you don't understand. We're getting calls from people in nursing homes that don't drive, don't have cars, but they like watching you on TV, answering people's car questions. I like helping people out. If everybody helped everybody out and was honest, and we cut through all this bureaucratic crap. If you saw the video I put up this morning, the bureaucracy of the world, it's gone insane, right? We need to fight this stuff. We need to fight against all this bureaucracy and all this crap that's rolling out. End it. Don't get it worse and worse and worse. Don't let the bureaucrats take over our lives. And if everybody gets together and fights against it, it will stop. It's like people say, oh, you can't do anything. The corporations control everything. Okay, take Exxon, big corporation, right? If everybody said, we hate Exxon, we're not going to buy their gasoline, they would go out of business because they mainly make their money selling gasoline. People have a lot of power if they only band together and use it. Billy says, what do you think about Porsche cars? Okay, what's the difference between a Porsche and a porcupine? And the joke is, porcupines have the pricks on the outside. They're snobmobile cars. The people who drive them are generally extremely obnoxious, don't obey any of the traffic rules, speed, break the law all the time. They spend an awful lot of money for that little bitty go-kart. And I always laugh because I used to work on tons of them in Houston, right? Especially 911s. I take my wife for a ride and she said, don't ever take me for a ride. One of these things are horrible. They're like a go-kart. They're bouncing me all over the place, right? They're driver's cars and they go fast. If you're one of those nuts that wants to drive in a city like that and probably kill people, right? Take it to the racetrack if you want to drive it, right? Porsches, because they call them Porsches, not Porsche. Porsches. Just like you don't call them Jaguars, you call them Jaguars, right? Well, whatever you call it, they're a bunch of snobs. I don't want anything to do with them. Richard Guillen says, 2016 Sierra, 5.3 liter. Gas mods going down and a tranny kicks at slow speeds, first and second. 8-speed with 52,000 miles. What could be wrong? If it runs okay, otherwise the engine. But it's kicking, it's your transmission that's doing it. I'm not a fan of those 8-speed transmissions. When you only got 52,000 miles. When they had the simpler ones, the 6 speeds, generally you could get 140,000 or so out of them, and then you'd have to rebuild them. That was their weak point at that mileage. But you've only got 52K. But that's pretty typical with those 8 speeds. Take it to a good tranny guy and pray. Maybe he can reprogram the computer to make it work a little better. Sometimes you can. Just take it to a guy you trust that knows transmissions and see what he says. Mark Miller says, Scotty, would you recommend buying a 2003 F-150, fixing it up, rather than a newer model? Yes. One caveat. If you're up north any place, look at the frame. If the frame's solid and isn't rusted, go right ahead. They can run forever. If the frame's all rotten out, don't look for another one, right? But they're so simple. You can fix the trannies, engines, everything you can buy remanufactured. You can just keep driving those things forever. Just make sure it's not a rust bucket, because if you buy a used rust bucket, you're stuck with it, and it'll just be an endless money pit because it'll just fall apart. And it's a truck. You use it for heavy-duty work, and if the frame breaks, crack, boom, away it goes. Then it's not worth anything. Emad said, what do you think of the Corolla 2020 hatchback 2.0 CVT? I like the car. I am not a fan of CVT. But Toyota makes the best CVTs in the world. If I was going to buy a hatchback, that's the one I would buy. They got a lot of space inside. And they are Corolla, so they're going to last a really long time in most cases, right? I just like the older stuff, like my 2007 Matrix, okay? When the Matrixes were first made, they were called Toyota Corolla Matrix. They screwed up again. Oh, we didn't make the Matrixes. We'll make them again. We can't do that. Okay, let's call them Toyota Corolla hatchbacks. They are the same as a Matrix, right? I'm not a big CVT fan, but if you drive one and you don't mind the way that it drives, it should last a long time. F says, Scotty, how do I revive my Honda CRV with a rusted chassis? Well, here's the problem. The CRVs are unibody construction. The entire car is the body. Once it rusts away, it's goodbye. You can't fix it. The whole thing's rusted. Back in the day, you could weld up a frame or put another frame on. Putting a frame on is expensive enough because you got to take the whole body of the car off, put it on a new frame and everything. It is a fortune. Thousands, 10, 12 grand or more usually to swap everything out, right? You got a unibody construction. Once it's rusted, it's too late. Now, if there's just a few holes, you could cut all the metal out, have somebody weld new metal, and then prime it and paint it, and it can last. But generally, once you start seeing it rust and all the insides are rusting out, then it's just too late. Now, if it's still structurally sound, if a mechanic says, okay, well, it's structurally sound, just drive it around as a knock-around car. A guy just brought me one the other day, and I said, drive it around as a knock-around car. He says, yeah, I got 2 other cars. This is just a knock-around car. I said, yeah, take it to Walmart and stuff and back and forth. Just don't take any big trips on it because it's rusting out. And, one day you hit a gigantic pothole, it might crack in half when it gets that bad because they're unibody constructions. They don't have a frame. Serena Jackson says, Scotty, got a 2011 Chevy Equinox. It burns oil amongst other problems. What should I do? Get rid of the stupid thing. Take it to CarMax. They're still in business. I'm surprised. And they'll buy anything. See what they'll give it and get out of the thing. Don't waste any more money. Those Equinox are one of the worst vehicles I ever made. The engines burn oil. The transmissions go out. The air conditioning systems break. Get rid of it as soon as you can. Buy yourself a Toyota, even if it's a really old Toyota. If it's still in decent shape, I had a guy just buy a Toyota Camry for $5,000. Yeah, it had 200,000 miles on it. I put my scan tool on it. And the fuel trim, which means if it's running perfect, the fuel trim is 0. And it can be plus 2%, 3%, minus 3, minus 4 if it's running too rich and subtracted. It was still at 0. It didn't have to adjust the fuel trim at all with 200,000 miles on it. So get yourself a Toyota and get rid of that pile of junk. I don't know, 23 says, Scotty, what GM tranny do you think is the best? 4, 6, 8, or 10-speed? All righty then. 4-speed for long life. Those old 4-speeds could last forever. 6-speed if you want a little bit better gas mileage. They're still decent. But I don't like the 8s or 10-speeds because they break and cost a small fortune to fix when they finally go out. They do it to get better gas mileage, right? But you're talking about big old giant vehicles anyways. You're going to get bad gas mileage regardless of what they say. They'll tell you, this thing's going to get 29 miles a gallon on the highway. Then you drive it normal or you're towing something, you find out you only get 16. Don't believe any of those figures. It's all nonsense when it comes to big, heavy vehicles. XXX says, Scotty, I got an 02 Toyota Echo. The fuel tank makes a croaking sound after I drive and the engine's turned off. Any ideas? Yeah, maybe you got a frog stuck in there that likes snorting gasoline fumes, Change the gas cap. If your gas cap's bad, it's going to make air go through the spring and it can make a croaking sound. Also, there's a thing that's called evap canister vent valve. If that goes weird, the vent valve can vent and make a croaking sound. You can check the evap canister vent valve. Just Google it. You'll see pictures of where it is and check it and see if the noise is coming from there. But first change the gas cap. It's probably the gas cap. But if not, the evap canister vent valve can do that. Just Google it. You can find where it is and you put your ear up to it and that's making a noise and it bothers you, change it out. I mean, if you don't have a check engine light or anything on, what the heck? Who cares? Soft Web Pro says, Scotty, do you recommend Blue Devil to fix head gaskets temporarily? No, I don't. I've seen people use it and have problems. What I tell people to try now, and sometimes they have good luck, is I say, just go to quick auto parts stores. The old-fashioned one that comes in a bottle and it's silver. It's not Blue Devil. You see there's silver inside. It costs about $25, let's say, for head gaskets. It mixes. You want one that mixes with the coolant and doesn't make a mess. And it may or may not fix it, but I'm not a fan of the Blue Devil. I've tried it to pass it off and clog stuff up, so I wouldn't use that. Yeah, it's called Bars Leak, and they have one that's like $20-something, and it says mixes with all antifreezes. Now, you don't want to put it in a dirty system. If your antifreeze is dirty, you got to empty it out and put that stuff in. But if your antifreeze is clean enough, add the Bars Leak, and that's the best one. Luke Sabell says, my car makes a clicking sound when I reverse in a parking space. Could it be a bad CV axle? Could be lots of things. Now, what you want to do, the CV axles are simple. Just jack the car up, turn the wheel to the left and right. CV axles is a half shaft on each side. The inside has a rubber boot and the outside has a rubber boot. If the rubber boot's ripped and the grease is leaking out, it's a CV axle. Because they'll make the noise when the grease leaks out and you got metal to metal action going. So, pretty simple thing to do. You can check it out that way. Damien says, what's your thoughts on a 2024 Genesis G7 sedan? Okay, they're fun to drive. They're very luxurious, right? To me, they're all overpriced. I'd never buy one. The thing about Genesis is they're not like Lexus. Lexus, you can buy one, drive it 300, 400, 500,000 miles. The Genesis, they get over 100,000 miles, they start falling apart and they cost a fortune to fix. They're just not as well made. It doesn't matter what the Koreans try to tell you. The Korean car quality is just not all that hot. They're not all that well made. They don't hold up. Hey, fine. If you want to pay that kind of money and you want a car that rides like that and you're happy with getting 80, 90,000 miles out of the car, go ahead and buy one. You'll probably like it. If you try to keep them forever like me, in the long run, you'll hate it. Haji says, what are some advice on avoiding getting scammed online? Don't go online. They can't scam you if you're not there, right? I mean, you got to use common sense. One, don't open any thing that's sent to you if you don't know who the people are, right? If it says click this, download this, don't. Just erase the email and ban that person from ever sending you another email. And of course, use common sense. Somebody says, this is Scotty Original Kilmer. You just won a brand new electric Hummer. Well, you know that's fake too. I don't have anything to do with that stuff. So use common sense. Don't open up emails. And anything that looks too good to be true, you know it is. And it's all a bunch of nonsense. Every day I get so many of them. You just won this. You won that. You won this. You didn't win anything. You just won the right to be scammed by somebody. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.